Friends, how are you? Today I begin a new series with you, and the series is called The Meaning of Death. The Meaning of Death. Before I start, I'd like to say a few words of introduction. In the wisdom tradition that I come from, there are 4 phases of life, or 4 ashramas, as they're called, ashramas. An ashram is a place that you rest at, or that you can call home. Ashram actually means home, where you rest. So the first ashram is the first 25 years of life, which is education. So I can safely say, been there, done that. The second ashram is being a householder, taking care of your family, but also driving ambition and fame and fortune. So I can say I've been there, done that as well. The third ashram is, so the second ashram is 25 years to 50 years. The third ashram is 50 years to 75 years. And that is the time that an individual gives back to the world with gratitude. And the fourth ashram, which begins at 75 years, ideally up to 100 years, is self-realization, finally figuring out the mystery of your existence and preparing for the final curtain when the eyes close for the last time. And we call that the mystery of death. So actually, I'm going to call this series The Mystery of Death. And just as an aside, I meditate before I sleep every day. In the morning, I meditate for a more joyful, energetic body, loving, compassionate heart, clear mind, and lightness of being. But at night, I meditate on the mystery of my own death. And lots of revelations come. But what I'm going to share with you is personal revelations, but also what we have learned from the mystery schools of the world, particularly Eastern mystery schools. But they're called mystery schools because they go into the mystery of existence through contemplation, inquiry, deep meditation, and ultimately getting at the source of all experience and the source of what we call all existence. Not only your existence, but my existence and the existence of everything that we call perceived reality. So with that introduction, I'm going to start again using my notes a little bit to share with you. But I will only continue this series if you feel that you're benefiting from it. If for any reason it creates anxiety or whatever, then I will not pursue. So I need your feedback. Let's call this series The Mystery of Death. The Mystery of Death. And let's begin. When people ask if the soul lives on after death, the answer is yes. But then we must define the soul. The soul is that little speck of consciousness which is connected to unbounded ocean of consciousness. But as Rumi has said, you're not just a drop in the ocean, you're also the ocean in the drop. So the drop reflects the ocean. However, it reflects the ocean from a particular perspective. So our awareness, which is unbounded, eternal, timeless, irreducible, fundamental, without cause, What else? Spaceless, timeless, dimensionless, formless, and infinite. That speck of identity in the vast ocean of consciousness, unbounded, has a certain amount of individuality as a result of identifying with certain experiences in life. So that is what we are going to call the soul. Okay, the soul is your holographic or say the holo movement of the ocean of consciousness that gives rise to you as an individual. So in this framework of understanding, consciousness is fundamental. Consciousness is that in which all experience occurs. All experience is known, and out of which all experience is made. Rupert Spira shared that definition with me many years ago. But we can say consciousness is that which makes experience possible. So just let's go with that, okay? So that consciousness modifies itself as it manifests. And it first modifies itself as what we call mind. Mind is where we experience feelings, emotions. We feel. Then it further modifies itself as intellect. Intellect is where we analyze, make choices, and also discern, what is good, what is bad, what is hot, what is cold, etc. And then it modifies itself into what we call our ego identity. Our ego identity is our self-image as a result of the soul modifying itself into mind and intellect. That ego identity, when it moves through something called prana, which is vital energy, manifests as the experience of the physical body. But the physical body is not material. The physical body is a perceptual activity in awareness, individual perceptual activity in awareness. It's actually made of sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. So we can also say that consciousness or soul modifies as mind, intellect, ego, and then prana, vital energy, and then the experience of the body, which appears material, but that's a useful construct. It's an activity, and it's a perceptual activity that starts as a fertilized ovum, and then a zygote, embryo, baby, toddler, young adult, teenager, young adult, mature adult, old adult, all the way to dusty death. So that's what we call the physical body. And that physical body is correlated with the experience of what we call the physical world, but there's no physical world either, material world. It's a useful construct for a perceptual activity that correlates with the perceptual activity that we call the body. Okay, so the mind is the cognitive experience of the soul, and body and world are the perceptual experience of the soul. So now back to my notes. When people ask if the soul lives on after death, the answer is yes. When people ask if the personality lives on after death, the answer is that personality does not even live on while we are alive. Our personality is always changing. We are not the same person we were 5, 10, or 15 years ago. It would be a sorry state if we were. If your personality was frozen, that would be not a good thing. Just like if your body didn't develop, that wouldn't be a good thing either. I mean, if somebody doesn't develop into teenage experience, then you worry. And if personality doesn't develop, then also that's a problem. So our personalities are constantly evolving, transforming, growing. If the question is, does the individual survive death? The answer is, what is an individual? What is an individual? And so if we go deeply into this, question, we realize in reality, there's no such thing as a physical individual. What we call me, the individual, is different from day to day, from week to week, from year to year. The question would be, which individual are you talking about? So let's say you die and you go to heaven or whatever, then who lands up there and who experiences life there? The old individual who perhaps was bordering on senility or had Alzheimer's, or the young person who was in love and full of romance and desire, or the young child who was full of innocence and wonder. Who are you talking about when you say individual? Which one would you survive as after death if you survived? The individual is constantly undergoing change. So what survives is a soul which is beyond individual personalities, in the sense that there is continued transformation of what we call the individual during life after death. Let's take a metaphor. The caterpillar dies to become a chrysalis and begins a long slumber with its own energies. Then the chrysalis dies to become a butterfly, which is a very different level of existence. So is the caterpillar the same individual as the chrysalis and the butterfly? It's the same creature that has become something else, and yet every cell in its body is different. Every energy in its body is different. Every expression of energy in its body is different. Everything it experiences is different. Everything is a change of form and a change of activity. There's a change of the expression of energy within the form, and then there's a change in the form. So there's only transformation, nothing really dies. The water drop becomes vapor, which becomes a cloud, or a rainbow, which falls as rain to become water deep in the ground, transforming into a spring, which then becomes a stream, a river, a waterfall, and finally back to the ocean. In each state, it's the same drop of water with a different expression. There's a constant transformation in nature and a constant transformation in that which we call our being or our soul. Therefore, the idea that we are a set personality fixed in space and time is an illusion. It's a mirage. Everything is changing, but nothing ever dies. Now, as we go through these insights and revelations, I will also do some meditations if you want to justify what I'm saying with an experience. So that's it for today. I'm traveling, but I'll be doing this every day, but I need your feedback to say if I should continue or not. Have a wonderful day.